Welcome everyone to Tea Time. Chris Kirk was your 125 to 1 long shot 2 tournaments ago. Grayson Murray was your 500 to 1 long shot last week. All we got to do is find the next triple digit to 1 winner. Welcome to Tea Time, everybody. I'm Andy Lang from wagertalk.com, being joined as always by Nick Borman, who is fresh from the Cayman Islands, who has a brand new phone, unfortunately, because he took his phone into the ocean with a swim with him. We are here to break down the American Express tournament. And Nick, we were laughing a little bit before because this is a goofy tournament, I guess is one of the ways to describe it. So before you get into betting, guys, before you get into setting your DFS lineups and your seasonal fantasy leagues, you have to understand the format of this tournament because Nick, it is very different. You want to give us kind of the bullet points as to how this tournament works this week?
Yeah, as is always the case this time of year, this begins a 3-week run where the PGA Tour will be utilizing multiple courses for the tournament. This week in particular, you have 3 different courses being used, and the pros are playing alongside of amateurs for those first 3 rounds. So this is a notorious 6-hour round, definitely not the normal for a lot of these guys and how they play week to week. And it's a big reason in the past we haven't seen, a lot of huge names and not a huge field as far as being deep and very strong up at the top. Although this year arguably is one of the stronger ones that we have seen in quite a while. But yeah, they play 3 different courses for the first 3 rounds. So a 54-hole cut then happens after that. And only that last 18 holes is played after the cut. So it is definitely different. And you probably want to take a look at, tournament history. It's hard to look at course history because even if you look at strokes gain data, it's only measured on one of the 3 courses. So it's kind of like if you just look at strokes gain data, it's a little bit, it's only half of the field, or excuse me, half of the rounds. But if you look at tournament history, it might be a little bit more telling, at least of guys that are used to playing in this kind of setup. And again, alongside of amateurs, because if you listen to some of the players and the reason people avoid this one and the Pebble Beach Pro-Am in 2 weeks, it's because they just hate the length of how long it takes to play. So definitely different, but still something to bet on. We can still make money here, Andy. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have a lot more bigger names than in years past. But do not do not underestimate the amateur part of this. We have seen some of the best in the world get really frustrated with their amateur partners, just hacking out of the rough and putting it in the water and stuff. So keep your eyes on that. Nick mentioned the 3 different courses. So the biggest defense that this tournament has is traditionally the wind. If there's no wind, they're going low. If there is wind, it can be a little bit different. And it does not look like there's going to be wind in the forecast. The weather has been beautiful in this area up to this point. So look for beautiful fairways and really receptive greens. Nick, I think these guys are going really, really low. Just a quick touch on the 3 different courses. We got the stadium course. This is where the last round will be on Sunday, and this is where they'll have another previous round. So it's the only course where they play 2. Water's in play on 7 holes. That's a little bit different from the Hawaii courses. I think the winner of this tournament is going to have to shoot minus 12 or better over 2 rounds on this course. I think you're going to have to get to minus 25 to even have a chance over 4 rounds. So I think you got to go minus 12 on this one. The tournament course is only going to have 1 round. Probably the second hardest course, stadium course, I guess you could say is the hardest tournament course. There's 5 holes with water in play, no wind. I think the winner is going to have to shoot minus 5. And then La Quinta will have 1 round. It's the easiest course they will play this week. 7 holes with water, but the greens are very easy to putt on. The rough is easy to hit out of. Nick, no wind. I would not be surprised if we see a minus 9 or even a minus 10 on the course this week. I think the eventual winner of the tournament, minus 6 at the worst, you're going to have to shoot. You're going to have to go low on every single one of these courses every single day. Agree?
Yeah, Rom won at 27 under last year, and the tournament history here, going back to when it's been set up like this, every winner's been in at least 20 under par. So yes, it's going to be that way. The weather's perfect. The rough is only 2 inches long. Greens are slow by PGA Tour standards, 11 and a half on the stimp. So it's throw darts, make putts. So these guys will go low, and you're going to have to be at least 20 under par, probably mid 20s, like you said, to actually win this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a birdie fest. So if you like low scoring, this is the tournament for you. Nick, let's take a look at the total strokes gained chart. This is your holy grail. And, this is interesting. You can tell the percentage of how many golfers that win come from this chart. And I would say we're about due for one of the winners to come from this. Chris Kirk, Grayson Murray. Certainly, we're not we're not anywhere near this chart. So the odds say we're getting close to getting a winner out of this. So let's walk through this total strokes gained, explain this chart, and talk about who's been looking good over the last 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. It is where I always kind of start looking for the outrights each year. You can see on the top of the graphic, 50 of 89 PGA Tour winners dating back to the start of 2022. So we're talking two full seasons now, have won from this top 10 graphic. So you can see the list here. It's who you're going to expect. It's usually the betting favorites, right? So it makes sense that the winners are coming from here, but it's also your indicator that these guys are playing very well. I break it down to strokes gained over the last 12 months, then 6 months, then 3 months, because obviously it's important to be playing well long term. But if you see some sort of trend changing, in the shorter term, it may be an alarm or something to say, you know what, maybe I'll hesitate on that person this week, or maybe they haven't been playing great over the last 12 months, but in the last 6 or 3 months, they've been spiking, and somebody might want to back. The only thing I'll add on that trend this particular week, and probably for the next couple of weeks, the last 3-month numbers, probably not that important to look at, maybe a little skewed. And I say that because we all know that, with the holidays and the November and December timeframes as far as tournament golf, some guys might not even play, or they might play one time, and the tour is very irregular at that time. So you can see the volatility by looking at that, and you can see some red numbers in there for guys like Ricky Fowler and Wyndham Clark. I think they only played one time, maybe two. So you have 1 or 2 bad tournaments, it really throws off the stats there. So maybe not as important in the last 3 months, but generally that's kind of how I look at this. I want to see guys that are consistent over 12 months, 6 months, and continuing that in the short term. Also on the screen here, I try to find the best odds. Shopping, 5 of the major books. We put that up here, so helps you along the way. But I also throw in some notables, and these are guys that are either very close to the top 10. In this case, Poston, Kim, and Thomas are all like within the next 4 to 5 spaces, but they're also playing well in the shorter span as well. So I always start here, Andy. I do. I've had very good success finding outright winners in this graphic. I do worry. You look at the top 3 guys, clear head and shoulders as far as ability over the last 12 months versus everybody else, but it's a major price you got to pay to get those 3 guys, and there's a lot of value, as you can see, just below that in that mid range, where now they're falling into the 30 to 1 range or 40 to 1 range, and I think that's where I'm starting a lot of my outright betting this week, because I don't see a lot of value in those top guys. But that's the top 10 for this week, Andy.
Yeah, not when 125 to 1 and 500 to 1s are taking home the trophies. So absolutely. We do have a really nice promo code available for everybody. This works for either myself or for Nick. The promo code is golf49. Golf49 gets you 30 days of golf for just $49. Guys, this is a smoking deal. Just one pack that Nick or I put up is going to be $25 or $29. So for just $20 more, you can get 30 days of golf. So if you're looking at getting into golf, this is just a perfect way to dip your toes in the water and get a month for $49. So it works for myself or for Nick. Both of us are at wagertalk.com. Nick is coming off just an absolutely insane, legendary 2022-2023 season. The amount of outright winners that he hit was crazy, and I've never had a losing season at Wager Talk in golf. So 2 really good guys that listen, I don't want to brag, but we do know what we're doing with golf betting. So looking forward to keeping the profits rolling in here. Nick, how many outright winners did you have in that season?
12. I'll argue 13, because Xander Schauffele won the Tour Championship without starting strokes, and it paid like an outright winner, but I didn't technically count it. So
no,
thank
counts.
you. So
it 100% counts.
One a month.
That is absolutely amazing. Nice work from Nick. All right, we're going to talk about guys that could win the tournament. I always do a segment called Players That Can Trip You Up. These are players that I think are overvalued, that you might be a little bit nervous about betting on, putting in head-to-head matchups, or putting in DFS. I will go right to the very top, and I will say Scottie Scheffler is a player that can trip you up. He is the highest price favorite, kind of by a wide margin, And listen, I'm sure he's going to have a big week. His tee to green numbers are nothing short of legendary. But this is a guy that has not finished top 10 here in 3 straight tournaments, and he is one of the worst putters in the field this week. Whoever wins this tournament is going to have to be lights out with the putter for all 4 rounds. Scottie Scheffler is minus 0.47 strokes gained putting the last 6 months. He played really good at the Century, but Nick, he's going to have to finish top 2 basically to return value. I do not trust his putting over all 4 rounds. He could have 3 incredible rounds, and with no wind, with as easy as these holes are, if his putter goes south for just 1 round, he's going to be outside of the top 5. There's going to be too many guys going low. I just cannot trust a guy who's struggling with putting on a course that is going to require lights out putting. So Scottie Scheffler, I believe, is overvalued this week. I will not be betting on him. Next is going to be Chris Kirk. This is his 3rd tournament in a row. I think this could be the big letdown spot for him. So he wins the Century, and then he finished 18th last week, which is a respectable finish, but that was not a great field last week. And his numbers when he won at the Century were insane. Plus 1.11 putting at the Century, but last week that drops to minus 0.70. And around the green, he was plus 1.05 at the Century. Last week, minus 0.80. We've seen his numbers regress really bad. This is a better field than it was last week. He wrapped up his win for the season, which does so much for these pro golfers. I think this is a really big letdown spot after a win and an 18th. So I'm not going to be betting on Chris Kirk. And finally, Tom Kim. He finished 6th here last year. Nick, he was terrible at the Century. His putting was absolutely awful, and they have him as the 5th highest favorite in the field. He won the Shriners in the fall, but 2 weeks ago, putting minus 1.12 at the Century, and I cannot roll the dice. If his putting is even mediocre, he's never going to return value as a top 5 priced guy. So it's just too much of a risk for a guy that looked terrible putting. So Scottie Scheffler, Chris Kirk, and Tom Kim are my 3 players that I think can trip you up this week. All right, Nick, coming to you, and we're going to talk about an outright winner. This is a guy who has absolutely been a DraftKings darling. He's been great in your fantasy leagues. Let's go ahead and talk about your first guy. A little bit, it's not a long shot, but definitely love the odds on this guy. Who do you like this week?
Yeah, the postman, JT Poston, been as steady as they come recently, and it's really hard. I just can't pass him up at this price to just continue to bet on him. The guy, he's just simply playing great golf right now. Another top 10 last week at the Sony. He finished solo 6th. That followed a tie for 5th the week prior at the Century. Andy, going back to the John Deere Classic in July, he's got 7 top 10 finishes in his last 11 starts. I mean, that's top 10 player in the world caliber right there, and he's quickly climbing those official world golf rankings. When you're looking for a profile that matters at a tournament that is expected to be low scoring, you hit it, Andy. Putting is probably the most important. The other important one is approach. You got to throw them darts and you got to make the putts, right? And both of those categories are exactly where Postman excels. He has gained strokes in 11 straight events on the greens and in 10 straight starts with his approach. He's number 2 on tour over that span in putting, averaging plus 1.08 strokes gained per round. The only guy ahead of him is Brian Harman, who's playing in Dubai this week, so he doesn't have to worry about that. So he's number 1 in the field. He also ranks number 3 in strokes gained approach during that run, behind only Scheffler and Schauffele, who are both valued at 11 to 1 or lower, as you mentioned already with Scheffler. So getting him at over 30 to 1, hashtag value is what I say. And finally, Poston, you got to have a little experience in this tournament because it is, again, we talked about it in the beginning, the distraction with the amateurs and the whole tournament course changes. So he has played here each of the last 7 years. He's familiar, and he's coming off a tie for 6 last year. So playing well, course history, he can putt. I like Poston at 33 to 1 this week.
That is crazy value. I feel like if you would just not show the picture of the name and just read some of those stats, you'd be like, "Who is that? Schauffele? Is that Sung JM?
Right.
Who is that?" So absolutely fantastic value at 33 to 1. Love that one. Let's take a look at DraftKings Darlings. Nick, we've been doing well in DraftKings. Our Darlings have been coming through at the Century. I think 2 of our 3 darlings finished ahead of all of our big name guys. So that's why this segment's really important. You got to nail those lower price guys. And I will start with Nicholas Echevarria. This one I'm really rolling the dice with, but at 6,500, I cannot pass up Echevarria. This price is just so low for a guy who's made the cut. Made it last week. Played well for the first 3 rounds, and then he just had a bad 4th round. But he's plus 0.77 strokes gained putting last 2 weeks. This is an easy course, as we talked about. You got to have a hot putter. So maybe his off the tee and approach isn't fantastic, but if he gets a hot putter, he's going to make the weekend, and he's going to give us weekend points. That's what we're looking for, a guy at 6,500. Up next, Patrick Cantlay. He was a DraftKings darling last week, and I'm going right back to him at 7,000. Finished 13th last week. He plays well at this tournament, made the cut 3 years in a row, finished 53rd, 22nd, and 11th the last 3 years. He's made 5 cuts in a row in the fall and then a solid finish last week. So I love this price. It's almost the same price as last week. Again, I just need him to get through the weekend. And then I'll go with Erik van Rooyen at 7,500. He's been playing good golf recently. He won the Worldwide Tech Championship in the fall, had 3 top 30 finishes before that. He goes out and finishes 22nd at the Century, and he made the cut last week. And he finished 6th last year at this tournament. So I think I can start my lineup with Echevarria, Patton Kazire, and Erik van Rooyen. And if you want to see the rest of my DraftKings lineups, that article is available on my profile page at wagertalk.com. We got some betting notes in there, a couple charts, course overview, things like that. So those are my DraftKings darlings. And Nick, we're going to a position finish, and this is a guy you and I are fans of. This guy actually won it's not an official award, but the DraftKings Darling of the Year last year was this guy, and he's legit. I have a feeling we can make a lot of money off him this year. So who do you like as your favorite finishing position this week?
Yeah, you mentioned going back to the well on Kazire, and I'm going back to the well on Eric Cole because I had him last week for a top 20 finish at the same number. He cashed that, and it's hard just like Poston, it's hard not to just want to get money on this guy. He's going to win. It's just a matter of time, and anything, his price is similar to Poston. It's over 30 to 1. I'm just going to keep betting that. Top 20, I love it. He's got 5 straight top 20s. If you go back a little further, he's got 8 of his last 10 finishes in the top 20. So his last 5 tournaments, Andy, tied for 13th last week at Sony, 14th at the Century, 3rd at the RSM, 2nd at the Zozo, 3rd at the Shriners. He was that close to getting the win, just couldn't quite close the door. But if he keeps putting himself in contention like this, again, that win is coming. Like Poston, his skill set really fits what you're looking for this week. He is another very strong iron player. He ranks 4th in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 6 months. You can also roll the rock as he ranks number 2 in this field in strokes gained putting dating back to June. The only player ahead of him, of course, it's JT Poston. So you can see where I've loaded up this week. You got to make these putts. These guys are number 1 and number 2 in being able to do that, and they can both throw darts. I like Eric Cole. I think he'll be in the mix if he doesn't win again this week, but I will have money on him. At least I think we'll cash at this top 20 price at plus 170, which I think is great.
Fantastic value. We're both big Eric Cole fans. Yeah, we'll be celebrating when he gets that first win. It's coming any day. Nick, can you tell everyone what you have up at wagertalk.com, where we can find you at, and give us that promo code one more time?
Absolutely. So golf tournament pack is up for this week. You can grab this week's tournament pack for $29, or as Andy already mentioned, the best value right now for both of us. If you're looking for golf, the season just kicked off, and there's a lot of good golf coming up. It's 30 days. 30 days of golf for $49, so basically less than the price of 2 weeks, because we're always pricing the tournaments at the same. You're going to get a full 4 weeks of golf. So $49, you can't go wrong. I'm going to focus in a lot of outright leaderboard bets, and he's going to focus in a lot of matchups. So we have a little bit of taste of both. So at that price, why not get us both? Also, have this week is quiet for soccer, is the other sport I cover. But all the big major European leagues are in full action right now. And MLS, Andy, right around the corner, early kickoff this year, mid-February. We're talking 1 month. So I will have a promo up for full season package. It's 5 straight winning years in the MLS. Another awesome year last year. So looking forward to that coming up in a couple weeks as well.
I love following you on Twitter. All the soccer information you give out on social media is fantastic. What's your for those of you following soccer? If you're not following Nick, you have to. Nick puts out like the best information and charts. Nick, what's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. It's at Borman, BORRMAN 00. So at Borman 00. And yeah, I love to put up as much information. Looks, we're all in this together, right? We can all win together. We can all take down those books. And that's all I'm trying to do is provide information for everybody to do that.
Absolutely. So make sure you follow Nick on Twitter and use that promo code. I'll go over just a couple of betting notes to get you ready for this week's event. No golfer in this field has finished top 10 the last 2 years in a row. It speaks to just kind of what a weird format it can be from year to year.
Yep.
The last 3
Yep.
months, Wyndham Clark, Nick, is negative strokes gained tee to green, approach, around the green, and putting. The last the last 3 months, Cameron Davis is negative strokes gained tee to green, approach, and around the green, but plus 1.31 putting. So
Wow.
Cameron
Saved.
Davis can we saw last week he can just get so hot with the putter, and the rest of his game's terrible. But man, you get a guy that gets a hot putter, he can do damage here. And Sung JM has
Yep.
played here 5 years in a row, has finished 18th or better in all 5 tourneys. So if you're looking for steady, Sung JM is your guy this week. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us for tea time. Make sure you go follow Nick on Twitter and grab that golf promo pack and use the promo code GOLF49 for 30 days of all golf plays for $49. That works on my page or Nick's page at wagertalk.com. It's a fun, beautiful tournament. Look for low scores. Let's make it a profitable one, and we will see everyone next week on Tea Time.